What's happening, everybody? It is me, resident supervillain Mr. J. Washington, and this is long awaited. It is my review for Marvel Studios' Black Panther Wakanda Forever. And if you have not seen this movie yet, you should know the drill by now with your boy. Come on back, because there will be spoilers. Ain't no other goddamn way I'm going to talk about this movie, man. Thank you, everybody who's been rocking with me. Thank you, everybody who's new to the channel. Thank you, everybody been seeing all the little different things I'm trying, with the shorts between the reaction videos and the stand-up clips and everything. And I know everybody's not going to rock with it all. I get it. I know it. I just know how stand-up works. I'm not stupid. You know what I'm saying? But I get it. But I have to do certain things in this industry to expand the brand and every region name and blah, 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 blah. So thank you for being along with the ride. Thank you for everybody for the love that you've shown since started seeing me on New Rockstar's Break Room. Thank you for the love from being on American Gigolo. If you have not seen American Gigolo, you can stream the entire season right now on Showtime, wherever you get it, Paramount Plus, Hulu, etc., etc. All right, all that's out the way. This movie has been one of the most long-awaited Marvel films, I think, in recent history. Next to Endgame, probably. And the first Black Panther, of course. But being marred in controversy, per se, how will they handle the death of Chadwick Boseman in real life, to translate it to the death of King T'Challa. Letitia Wright's injury on set, on top of her Twitter thing. And COVID itself, which caused production delays. There was so much. Now, let me get right into this part. With the recast T'Challa movement. Shouts out to the homie E-Man. E-Man was that from E-Man's Reviews, who started it and had great intentions. And I have to make sure I bring that up because a lot of people bastardized what he was trying to do. Him and I have had a lot of one-on-one conversations about the subject. And we both understand each other's perspective as to why we feel the way we do. I'm of the mindset of let them tell their story. They don't have to tell you if they're recasting. They can tell you, yeah, this T'Challa's dead, but they don't have to tell you what they're doing moving forward. I've always been of that mindset. And, E-Man understood, and he said they should have probably never said that. The story is too important to kill off, except T'Challa, etc., etc. Fair. We both had that understanding. That's what real men can do. We can talk, have respectable disagreements, etc., etc. But a lot of people are bastardized. So a lot of people are like, oh, we should boycott Marvel. They try to kill off black men and replace black men. Shut the fuck up. Let me just get that out my chest. If you were one of those people who have been saying, well, this is just Marvel trying to get rid of black men and this blah, 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 blah. Shut the whole fuck up. Please. Stop. Marvel Studios has a lot of black. Well, what about leading black men superheroes? What the fuck do you think Captain America is right now? I understand Captain America as a whole back in the day was a very C-list character. And even the comic book inclusion of Sam Wilson donning the shield and the mantle caught a lot of backlash because why? It was a black man as Captain America. Again, when you all saw Falcon and Winter Soldier, seeing Isaiah Bradley played by the amazing Carl Lumbly, people are like, huh? So please don't tell me that this studio is trying to erase black men. They're not. Mahershala Ali is about to be Blade. They're making sure they get the script right for this man. And there are others. Don Cheadle involved, etc., etc. And I know some people, well, some of these are side characters. You're not telling me Blade's a side character. You can't. Yes, I always say Blade when it was originally marketed. The first Blade movie is an action horror movie. It is not a superhero movie. Yes, it is a Marvel film. It is a Marvel banner thing from back in the day, but it is marketed as an action horror movie. So, with that, we knew what this was going to be. We knew in the trailers that this was going to be emotional. We saw in the trailers that we were going to see the death of T'Challa. We were going to see how it affects the main ensemble members within Wakanda. And there are other things going on. We knew we were getting Namor, et cetera, et cetera. And so out the gate, this movie gives you the death. Because I think that's the best move for it to do. Get it out the way. We know it is happening. We know it's emotional. We know it's going to fuck everybody up. There is no point of dragging this out throughout a 2-hour, 47-minute movie when we heard the runtime to say, let's make this in the middle of the movie. Because now it looms over. When is this death happening? When is it happening? Now that it's out the way, we paid reverence and respect to the character and the man. And the movie consistently does that, paying reverence and respect to the movie and the man. The movie is about how an entire kingdom has to learn how to move forward without the death of the king, a black man. His presence is felt throughout the film. And to have Shuri, have her go through the wire And when I say through the wire, she goes through every level of emotion you could go through. Her realizing her feeling she's not smart enough to save him at the beginning. We don't know whatever illness it is that the king has, which I am so glad, because I know some people were thinking they were going to do him having cancer in the movie. And I think that was way too much to say. To say he's got cancer now, but now it's, we don't have the full heart-shaped herb. We need there's a sickness that's taking over him. We need the heart-shaped herb, and she's trying to make an artificial one, and she can't get it right, she can't get it, and then he passes, and so we have this beautiful funeral. It's a homegoing celebration. If you didn't know anything about Black culture, and to see it in African garb celebrated, which, by the way, let's get this out the way. You should just hand the Oscar right now to Ruthie Carter once again. She took the pageantry, the majesty, the beauty of all the costumes she did in the first one and elevated it on such a level. It is absurdly beautiful. Ludwig Göransson, give him the Oscar again for the score. Okay? And to see all of this and to see how Shuri is dealing with it. Ramonda, again, older Black women, they deal with so much in real life, and they put down so much because they know life has to go forward, which again is one of the things I think about this movie and how it, Ryan Coogler is great for mirroring life into his films. And what I say that is, death happens, unfortunately, but life still goes on. You can't stop life even though death happens. And for me, it is ironic saying this at this point in time, because before, when I saw the movie at the premiere, this wasn't a thing that applied to me directly at the moment. And I say that because just a couple of days ago, I lost one of my real good friends. I lost one of my good friends in Cassie Dang. And I did not want to perform stand-up. I didn't want to do auditions. I didn't want to do anything. But Cassie in my head, knowing how she is, okay, you're sad. I'm gone. What does that mean? Yes, I'm gone, but you still got work to do. Life still goes on. So that's what it shows us. But everyone is affected by this. So Ramonda is trying to get Shuri to move forward because, again, I lost my dad. Now I lost my brother. And again, for Ramonda, she lost her husband. And now she lost her brother. But her and her brother had a bond. Of course, kids and parents are one thing. But that sibling bond that we saw with Shuri and T'Challa was something that was almost symbiotic. And so after the funeral, there's a ceremony where you burn the funeral garb to officially let them go. And Shuri couldn't do it because to her, if she burns it, that means it's done. He's officially gone. And a lot of people have had those moments where, you have that last thing you have to get rid of, whether it be someone dying or even a relationship, because once you let go of that final thing, you know that it is officially over. And it does hit in a certain way, I will admit. But throughout that, we start to, different pieces are happening because we're getting the introduction of the Talokan citizens, which was Atlantis in the comics as we know. But of course, Aquaman's a thing, so Marvel Studios and Ryan Coogler wanted to do something different. And to change the story of Namor if you will, and make it integrated with Mesoamerican culture and the Mayan culture within the Yucatan Peninsula, to make him part of Mayan folklore. I am a big fan of the ancient the indigenous tribes of Mayan, Aztec, and Incan. I love the art. I love the stories, the way they were told through the paintings and things like that, and the beauty of it. And that again is all translated perfectly. Ruthie Carter, again, the costuming on this, c'est magnifique. I don't know why I felt like doing it in French, but I felt like it was necessary. When we first see these soldiers, these mercenaries from France trying to steal vibranium, which, by the way, the first time we see them, they try to steal vibranium on the ship, and there's these scientists working, and one is Michaela Cole, and then it's like, the soldier mercenaries got guns and stuff, and so she's like, okay, and they're like, open the door, and she was like, all right, and open the door, and out the dark come Nadora and fuck everybody up, and it was beautiful. And then Queen Ramonda, who basically the message of this whole movie is, fuck around and find out, okay? Because Queen Ramonda, we saw her at the UN, which we all thought was going to be that powerful speech we hear in the trailer about I am queen of the most powerful nation in the world and my entire family is gone. Have I not given everything? That is not that. That is her telling them, because the UN is like, yo, you said you was going to give us vibranium. What happened? And she's like, no. I know what my son said. I know my son tried to be more diplomatic and open things up, but I watch y'all. I know how y'all gonna do this. Y'all aren't ready for this because you all will cause more destruction and harm. And then has the Dora has members of her security detail on the Dora, which are probably members of the border tribe that we don't know or whatever, or even just people on the Royal Guard. Well, the Royal Guard, excuse me, is the Dora, but people in the border tribe, et cetera, have them bring in the mercenaries from France on camera with their faces exposed. Like, look, this we gave you this one benefit of the doubt. You do it again, it's an act of war. And then to have another situation happen where these soldiers are another group is mining for vibranium, excuse me, in the ocean, and there's a machine that helps them track it down below, and then all of a sudden here comes the citizens of Talokan, the Atlanteans per se, and they come up and they have a siren song like the tale of mermaids of old, who would their song would cause sailors to go to their death, and these siren songs are causing these sailors to commit suicide and jump off the boat, and then you see how badass they are. And in the process, throughout all that, again, we go back to Wakanda, where I was talking about Ramonda and Shuri, and you have Namor comes up from the water to finally to approach Ramonda, and was like, "Look, I know y'all ain't got a protector. Everybody knows the king is gone." Again, without the Black Panther, Wakanda is considered to be defenseless. Like, yes, Wakanda is the most technologically advanced nation in the world in the MCU, but without its protector, its symbol, it seems to be weak per se. And when Ramonda's like, "Yo, how you know about vibranium?" and Shuri's like, "He is decked in it." And again, to take the concept of vibranium, as we were told in the first Black Panther, a meteor of vibranium came and struck Earth, and it landed in Africa, and from there the 5 tribes of Wakanda were built. But also to learn that, hey, there wasn't just one meteor that struck and hit Earth. There could have been others, and it went in the ocean, and from the ocean, again, the civilization arose, and all his jewelry and everything he's imbued with is made out of vibranium. So just like the Wakandans have used vibranium in their way, the underwater citizens of Talokan use it the same. And for Namor to be so calm, like, "Yo, I'm telling you, a human made this machine. Somebody from the surface land. I'm gonna go kill him. So I'm gonna need y'all to work with me so we can stop all these people. Because here's the thing: if they don't, they come for me, they're gonna come for you. So you're gonna need me. But here's the deal: you tell anybody you saw me, bitch, I'll kill you." I was like, yeah, basically, that's paraphrasing, of course. But he was so serious, and it scared them so much, because no one has ever just come into the borders of Wakanda. But again, how did he get through the borders? Through the water. The water is everywhere. The dome that protects Wakanda is on the surface level, not on underwater. Speaking of Namor, his backstory, him telling the story how he was, he's over 400 years old, how the meteor hit, and then it changed the water. His mother was pregnant when she drank the water, and it started to change the citizens where they couldn't breathe the air anymore. They could only breathe underwater. Their skin colors change, which is why we see how when they live underwater, they're regular color. When they're above water, they're blue. But also that he was born with the wings on his leg, and he even says, "I was a mutant." And I'm not gonna lie, I felt like that Leonardo DiCaprio meme in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, like, "Oh my God, he said it!" Because now we have the official, we used in Miss Marvel mutation. Yes, we saw Charles Xavier in Multiverse of Madness, but he never said mutant, which is, you got to think about that little bitty detail. This is the first time officially within the Marvel Cinematic Universe that the word mutant is used, and we know they're here. Okay? And so him telling his story, and we see how the colonizers tried to take over his land, which is historically told. And when one of the and again, him being able to fight back and the people fighting back, and then one colonizer, he stood over and he was killing him, and the dude called him the child with no love or no more. And he said he took that as his name. And to see all these things, right? All this play out, and to watch how Namor is about really just protecting his people more than anything else. Like, look, we have this beautiful civilization. I have brought the sun from above to you all, to my people, so they can have it underwater. And again, it doesn't even look CGI, by the way. For those who've seen it, you will agree, Talokan looks completely practical. It is real. And it is beautifully, again, a lot of unfilming was done underwater. Yes, indeed. So the practical effects that we may see underwater may be completely real. Some things are, of course, added to a CGI aesthetic. But again, dope. The machine is made by Riri Williams, played by Dominique Thorne, who a lot of people don't understand and not really cool with her inclusion. Like, why did you just throw her in here? Some people even said, like, yo, you got to put all the black people together. I know a lot of people thought at first they were going to make her a Wakandan citizen, which I'm glad they did. They made her from the crib, baby, from Chicago. And I love it how when we have her in our introduction to her at MIT, she is the plug, hooking people up, passing tests and stuff like that, making equipment and everything. And then Shuri and Okoye have to go find her because, again, this is a thing because they know Namor is coming to kill her. And he's found out who she is. And so they're going to get her. And, you know, you got Riri freaking out because, like, oh, shit, Princess Shuri. And the door and they're seeing the spears and all this. And they're like, yo, somebody's coming to kill you. And she was like, who? And they're like, we can't tell you. Do you understand how much power Namor has when you realize that there are many times throughout this movie, even with Everett Ross, where everything that kept happening with the ships and all this, everybody kept thinking it was the Wakandans just consistently attacking, even when it's the Talokan citizens. And Ramonda trying to tell Everett Ross, yo, I can't tell you who it is, but it's bad. Do you understand the level of power and fear that Namor instilled into them when they're like, bruh, shit's real, just can't tell you who. You're going to eventually have to figure it out. But for Riri to get her and to see her level of genius when we finally go to her garage, to see on her board, she is making an arc reactor of her own. She's the blueprints for an arc reactor. We get her Mark 1, which is her whole scene with her Mark 1 is damn near equivalent to the first Mark 1 scene we see in Iron Man 1 when Tony is using it. You know, when Tony uses his Mark, I think it's his 3 or 4. The first one, I can't remember, but I know the scene is damn near equivalent. And it's in the streets and everything. And it's amazing. It's the Mark 2 or 3. Mark 2 or 3. I can't remember which one. Please forgive me, y'all. It's a lot on my brain right now. But to see all that, going back to Everett Ross, to find out that his ex-wife is none other than Contessa Valentina, played by Julie Louis-Dreyfus. Now, I will agree in this part. Here's a nitpick. Not a nitpick. Yeah, a nitpick I have. I will agree with a lot of people. Their scenes were way too long. We didn't need that much of them. We find out, yes, they used to be married. We know she's been bugging Ross to find out really what's going on because Ross is having secrets, but she's so plugged. She's like almost an Amanda Waller level for Marvel, right? And I feel like her scene shouldn't have been as long. The only reason we could have got longer with her is if we were officially introducing members of the Thunderbolts, and we didn't. But we just needed that governmental element. And I think this is the part where Marvel Studios themselves had to interject and say, look, this can't be its own standalone film anymore. This has to connect to the larger world, per se. Because technically, if you think about it, Black Panther really, minus telling us what happens with King T'Chaka in the very beginning, right? And minus the post-credit scene of being Bucky getting the arm, Black Panther itself is its own standalone movie. Whereas this one, it had to incorporate the larger MCU now. It had to talk about it had to have 85-90% Wakanda, Black Panther, but the other 10 to 15% had to be inclusion of the MCU. But again, I think that the Ross and Contessa scenes could have been cut down. They really aren't that essential. Ross being the point man, yes, I get that. The Contessa element of we used to be married, all this other shit, blah, 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 it could have gone without. But let's go back to eventually the battle that we start seeing happening with Namor first coming at the Wakandas when he's like, yo, y'all keeping this child. Well, this is what happens. Because I got to get to this part that makes it happen. Excuse me. When Shuri and Okoye go to Riri to try to get her to bring Riri to Wakanda to protect her, again, Contessa's been bugging Everett Ross, so she sends the special forces to try to get it because they're like, yo, we need to know, like, damn the damage control, because we need to get this little girl. The Wakandas are protected. Again, the Wakandas have this advanced weaponry, so that's why damage control is brought in. They don't know of Namor. Again, Ramonda hasn't told them. Shuri nor Okoye, no one's told Ross, so not even the government knows, because again, the fear Namor put in. And when they're running away, getting away from the authorities, they're over a bridge coming out of Boston, and all of a sudden a fucking killer whale just free willies the fuck up. Here come Namora, Atumna, and a couple of other soldiers, which, by the way, the actors which portrayed them respectively are fucking phenomenal. The first battle we get between Atumna and Okoye is some of the dopest shit because she is considered one of the greatest warriors in the world. And then to have a weapon of vibranium and have someone who is stronger than her and deadlier, and his weapon breaks hers, she couldn't believe it. and then to have Shuri be kidnapped and taken underwater because they couldn't get Riri. So did they get Riri? No, 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 they didn't. I don't think they, no, they didn't. And so to get Shuri, pardon me, and take her down to Talokan, and then the scenes with Namor and Shuri, because again, in the comics, Namor for the streets. He a hoe. He trying to fuck everybody. He actually has a little flirtation, a little tryst with Shuri. So we kind of get teases of that. But he's like, yo, while he's telling her the story, which I brought up earlier, and like, yo, I need to kill this little girl though. Look, baby girl, I'm here. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I got my peoples. I made this beautiful city. Let me show you these wonders like Jasmine and Aladdin. But I'm killing Shorty because Shorty did it once. She can do it again. Now you can either let me kill her willingly, or you can fuck around and find out. And all these things happen. And again, that brings us to Ramonda recruiting Nakia, who Nakia has been gone since the blip. And she's been living in Haiti and helping with students. And when Ramonda comes to visit her and tell her, look, you weren't even there for the funeral. We needed you there for us. You are the family. You know, again, we know this whole core group. And then she's like, well, look, I need you to do who you are. Be the spy. I need you to go get my daughter back. And again, this takes us to Nakia going to the Yucatan Peninsula, talking to the natives, and again, for naturally, well, in real life, Lupita Nyong'o is Guyanian Mexican. This is a real lineage. You can Google it. And so for her to be able to communicate, it was beautiful to watch that, and then her going underwater to find Shuri, and then killing one of the residents of Talokan to save Shuri and bring her back is what made Namor snaps. That's what makes him snap and like, fuck it, we taking the Wakandans out, right? Also during this, when Okoye loses Shuri, when she is present in the throne room around all the members of the council and everything, and Okoye is pleading, Queen Mother, I apologize, please let me go and go get the princess. And Ramonda has the most black woman, black mama energy ever in that moment. That is where we get that speech of, I am the queen of the most powerful nation in the entire world, and my entire family is gone. Have I not given anything? She said, you stood beside Killmonger when he usurped my throne and killed my son. You just stood there and went along with it. You let my daughter be kidnapped. You are stripped of your rank, and strips her down of everything to turn her into a regular citizen. But we need this to happen because later in the film, as we see what Shuri has been developing between her and then also bringing back Michaela Cole, because I don't know if she's her sister, but she's a former Dora from everything I've gathered. They become the first Midnight Angels, which are part of the Black Panther comic. But after Nakia kills the person, to have Namor come up and just flood the dog shit and launch it all out assault on Wakanda. Quite honestly, a one-man assault. And then to throw, because he realizes that that's where Riri's being held, he throws a spear at Ramonda in the throne, and it doesn't break the glass. And then, Ramonda's standing her ground, proud woman, and then he says, all right, I'll be right back, and brings these water grenades, these explosive water vibranium grenades they have, and floods the room and eventually drowns Ramonda. And she dies as well. Shuri has to watch this also. There is so much that Letitia Wright as Shuri takes on for this role in this film. The level of grief and the emotional wringer that she has to go through throughout this entire process. When we eventually, again, when she's underwater in Talokan and Namor showing everything and talking about how vibranium helped grow the plants and everything, she starts to understand that vibranium could possibly be used, and the plants that have grown can be used to help, with the technology she has to make an artificial heart-shaped herb. So when that happens finally, after Ramonda dies, and she finally decides to make she finally is able to make the heart-shaped herb and again become the Black Panther, because at one point Riri is like, yo, you should be the Black Panther. Everybody's like, yo, this is what you do, right? You're the protector. She never wants it. She never wants the mantle. And even after her mother dies, M'Baku comes to her and says, you are no longer a child. You have gone through too much grief for that. And my brother, your brother told me to watch out for you, and I will. And it's a lot to see. Again, there's emotional dealing with grief throughout all this, which again, we know that Shuri becomes the Black Panther in the comics. Everything Gabe told you, and it does happen in the film. But I will say this, and I've consistently said this, she earned it within the movie. There was never a, okay, T'Challa dies, now you must take the mantle up. She didn't want it. She she did not want it. She felt that the Black Panther as a tradition was outdated because she was always about advancing forth with science and technology. Ramonda, her mother, was all about tradition is what keeps us who we are. And so when her mother finally dies, it's finally the push and everything because now she wants to kill him. She doesn't want to just find him and find Namor and bring him to justice. And so of course, when she takes the heart shaped herb, Nakia is there and helps give her the ceremonial lay her down. Let the heart shaped herb take you to the ancestral plane. And when she goes to the ancestral plane, who is the panther that she sees? Killmonger sitting in the throne. Hey, look, cousin. So that scene that we all saw in the trailer where she is sitting in the throne room and everything's on fire, that is her ancestral plane because her going to the ancestral plane in the moment she goes, she is consumed with anger and vengeance and pain. It is never a level of justice and understanding. There is a different level of how when T'Challa went to the ancestral plane, his was to have a better understanding and to have a changing of the guard of traditions and things like that with his father. Whereas with Shuri, it's just anger and it's just there's frustration. There's I'm not my brother, but I'm not you to Killmonger. And Killmonger's like, you sure? And so that's why her suit, when we see the new suit, it is a meld of the two. It is of the Golden Jaguar suit that Killmonger wore, and it is of the Black Panther suit. She is the fire of her. She is not her brother. She is not Killmonger. She's a bit of both. And so to watch her fight, to watch her, try to bring everybody together again, because after Namor does the damage to Wakanda, into the primary city, they go to Jabari land. And, again, M'Baku's having fun with everybody. This is what you people do. M'Baku just is always still the power, but still comedic relief, and Winston Duke is amazing in this. The battles that we have, again, we get the first Ironheart suit we see. I know some people shout out to my homie Chris Burns, who was like, we rather not seen it this one, and could have kept the Mark 1. But I think when it comes to Wakanda and vibranium technology, they're always going to upgrade you for battle. They're always going to keep you ready for battle. So, it's not long. It doesn't take long for the design team to make something that is needed. To see all that happen, the battle with the Talokan citizens and the Jabari and everything, the way they fight out while heading out to the ocean, to watch Shuri and Namor fight. They're fighting. Her and Riri realize a way to just kind of stop him and hinder him is basically drying him out. And when they get him on land, the battle, and when she cuts off this Mog's wing on his ankle, I think everybody in the theater was like, oh, shit! Because it was painful. But then to have him yield, because again, her vengeance wanted her to kill. Her vengeance inside was telling her to kill him. But the level of justice and understanding per se, forced her to have him to yield. The Talokan citizens in Wakanda live in peace for the time being. When Namor goes back, he tells him, look, I understand. He's like, but listen, they're going to be their own worst enemy. So I know how to watch out for them. So we'll be bad, And plus what this does is it sets up Namor going forward as a potential antagonist or a hero of need be. But also, in the comics not even just in the comics, in the film, there is a level of pushback from Namor and Atumna, like, yo, why didn't you just straight out go and kill them, plain and simple, when they are like, yo, take over this. So in the comics also, you have Atumna and Namor, who's Namor's sister and first in command. They butt heads with Namor, so we may get that in the future. Are we getting a solo Namor film? Don't know. Do we need one? Probably not. I don't know. Maybe a D+ series? Who knows? But everything happens. Again, the whole crew is together. The Midnight Angels, you have Nakia fighting, the Jabari, everybody. And so towards the end, she just wants to be the protector, but she doesn't want to be the queen, being Shuri. And so when you get ready to see the ceremony, M'Baku comes down. M'Baku is now the king of Wakanda, but Shuri is still the protector. One thing Shuri did not want, she didn't want to be queen. Even though it was like, you're queen now. Namor even tells her, you're the queen. She doesn't want to be queen. She lets someone who knows the tradition. She's understanding the balance in the male between both. So for tradition, she gives it to M'Baku. But this is what leads us to the end, to the post-credit scene, where she goes and she finally burns the funeral guard, being Shuri, and she sits in Haiti with Nakia, and Nakia introduces us to somebody, and she's like, "This is my son. His name is Toussaint." And she looks at him and she says, Ungubani. And every time we hear that in the movie, Ungubani is Shosha for who are you? And that is how Wakandans have identified with each other. Remember in the first one, you know, when Killmonger is brought to the throne room, Killmonger tells T'Challa, ask me who I am, King. Because he knows who he is. Remember, seeing the ring and things like that. He knows this is Njobu's son. This is Njadaka. And so that's why he says, ask me who I am. And that's why the member of the council says, Ungubani, and he says, Ndeke Njadaka, and lets him know that he's the son of Njobu. When Shuri says that to Toussaint, Toussaint is my Haitian name, but my Wakandan name is T'Challa. I am Prince T'Challa, son of King T'Challa. So, finds out Ramonda knew, T'Challa knew, but they wanted to keep him separate from everything. So that's why she moved him to Haiti. They all knew. So here's where that goes back to recast T'Challa. You don't have to. You don't have to. Here's why. And you now have a young T'Challa, right? He is 7 years old in this film somewhat. You now have a T'Challa who can grow up and consistently be with the MCU for 15, 20 years, however long we need to have him, however long the MCU chooses to go. You now have this T'Challa. Yes, Chadwick Boseman is gone, but there is still T'Challa. I first thought they was going to make him Azari and take it from being Storm's son, you know, him, because Storm and T'Challa's son is Azari. But to make it T'Challa is a genius move, because now because again, something can happen with Shuri. Unfortunately, as in the comics, Shuri only holds the mantle momentarily until T'Challa takes it back. So now you have this open opportunity. We do not know when the next time we'll see the Black Panther. The only safe bet we know we'll see the next time we'll see anybody from Black Panther is in Secret Wars. But this door that they've done, this genius way that Ryan Coogler, Kevin Feige, Nate Moore, and all of them involved have done is allow you to have T'Challa still. You did not. Now you have given this character legs for such a long time where you don't have to worry about a real recast now. It is actually a genius move. And there's some people going to be like, well, I want a live action just grown T'Challa now. And I've said this before, and I will continually say this. There is not an actor on this planet who everyone will be okay with. There is not a black actor in this world who wants the headache that is going to come through their social media. And when I say the headache, you aren't T'Challa, you not who we wanted, all these different things. And there are people, again, E-Man and some others have said, well, what black actor wouldn't want it? I'm going to tell you something. As somebody in Black Hollywood, as someone who has talked to a lot of the main actors that people were throwing up, they don't want that headache. That is too much. There is just way too much pressure on that. So now this opens the door for potential. This way, if you want one of them to be the older version, or if we have a new young black actor who can do it, now the pressure is gone. Because you don't have to be Chadwick. You can be your own T'Challa. And I think it was done well. Overall, if I have to give a rating of this film on a scale of 1 to 5, I give it a 4.75. I mean, and 4.95. 4.9. And the only reason I'm taking the Contessa Everett Ross shit could have been cut down for me, and I'd have been fine. But again, I loved it. This movie hit every beat it needed to hit. It did what it needed to do and was what it needed to be. All the bullshit, all the pushback, everything. The fear that people had going into this, I understand. But for them to address the fear, to address the concerns, to address the most important thing of the death of the star, the death of a man, the death of a friend that almost caused Ryan Coogler to quit Hollywood. To do all of this and give this film with grace, respect, and reverence, it is commendable, and it will bring you to tears in so many ways. You get your laughs every now and then. Shuri isn't the comic relief as much as she was in the first one because she has to go through the emotional ringer in this. Okoye picks up some of it, and Dominique Thorne as Riri Williams, who is tiny as shit, picks up a lot of it as well. But we see all these things. We get all this. The level of Ramonda too. Also, people be like, oh, I saw some people, and I talked about this in another review I did with someone, where they were like, do we have to have all this black trauma porn with death and blah, 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 and having Ramonda's death? But also, first of all, can I tell y'all something? Angela Bassett is 67 years old. These movies take between 6 months to a year alone to film. And it is a lot. It is a very, very, very consuming thing. Angela Bassett can be at home in LA and film 911, go home, be in her bed every night with her husband and her kids at home. Not being away from home 6 months to a year, having to come back from reshoots and do all this. There is a level of exhaustion. Yes, I understand. I want to be in this franchise so bad. Many other actors as well. But we understand what it takes. But also when you're older, some people don't want to have that anymore. And again, remember, just like we said with Robert Downey Jr., with Chris Evans, and even Chris Hemsworth, if they wanted to leave, they've put their time in. Angela Bassett has put her time in this franchise. There's nothing wrong with that. All right, so here's at the end of the day, man. Thank y'all for watching this with your boy. I want to know what you think in the comments below. But as always, I'm going to say it again, and I'm going to be dead ass serious. Keep it simple. We're talking about a comic book movie. Yes, it has a lot of real life implications when it talks about colonization, how people try to different things like that. Yes, I understand. Real life emotions, and et cetera, et cetera. We're talking about comic movies. Keep it civil. All right? Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at Mr. J Washington, MRJAY. You should know how to spell Washington. Check out the Mad Titan podcast, everywhere you get your podcast from. We get you, myself, my co-host BC, we get you caught up on all the things happening in the live action Marvel and cinematic, live action Marvel and DC, cinematic universes. This is Barbershop Talk for Nerds. Come on in the convo. If you are in San Diego, the San Diego area, I want you to make plans now. Wednesday, January 11th, for one night only. Wednesday, January 11th, I am headlining the Mic Drop Comedy Club in San Diego. You can get your tickets right now from micdropcomedy.com. Go ahead and get your tickets right now, okay? It's Wednesday, January 11th, all right? Holla at y'all next time. Please, if you like everything you've seen here, subscribe to the channel. Please hit that notification bell as well. Subscribe, share the video, etc., etc. I'm out. Take care, y'all.